quote that sticks with me heavily is the idea that politics is the study of fraud, that politicians are the professor of this science. To say that I feel like a fraud would be doing it an understatement, since politics can be argued in many different ways. Um, I feel like, the work I put in, maybe the research I put in, the opinions I form, the way I speak, the way I talk, the way I conduct myself, the future, making a career out of this, I more often than not feel like a fraud. Um, and you can look at history and see that for somewhat, you could argue that, fraudsters, crooks are the ones that are more successful. And, I think fraud is a very umbrella term I'm using here. It's not really necessarily a negative term I'd like to use. It's more of just a objective statement. I think Donald Trump is a great example. A lot of people don't know that he did run a presidential campaign in the year 2000 under the Reform Party. And one of the policies of the Reform Party was Medicare for all, healthcare for all, universal healthcare. Obviously, now he's head of the Republican Party with a lot different rules about what they think healthcare should be. He's very vocal about privatizing and increasing competition on healthcare. And there's nothing wrong with, per se, I'm not trying to argue whether or not I support Donald Trump's stance on healthcare at the moment, but I am pointing out the fact that a lot of politicians will just say what they want to say to increase their voter base. Donald Trump is just a great example as, you know, within a quick period of time, he shifted his opinions like that. Lyndon B. Johnson is a great case, someone who turned from more conservative to more liberal, but Donald Trump is a great example if you just want a clear cut, no nuance. He was very quick in his choice. He used to be a Democrat, he used to be liberal, but he changed. And I think the reason why in 2016 and maybe even 2024, why the media underestimate Donald Trump is that it's very hard to categorize, the Trump voter. You have people living in trailer homes in the middle of Montana voting for him, and you also have the richest man on planet Earth, Elon Musk, voting for him. So, but back to the idea of feeling like a fraud, with engineering, it's math, it's empirical. You can prove something, you can have a set result, you can show that your product, your invention, your innovation is more efficient, more sound. But I feel like for politics, it's just not the case. I mean, when's the last time have we heard any solid good news? Every day it's just bad news, bad news, bad news. Maybe you'll see a poll that favors your candidate, but I'm talking about good news that everybody favors, which is just non-existent. So the idea of feeling like a fraud has something that plagued my mind. I feel like the words I say out of my mouth, I often do get deemed with the moniker of being wise or smart, even though I don't see it at all. And even then, I battle with the idea of me being a fraud. Um, you know, Going into the idea of what makes a man smart, that's a very, very loaded question you're asking there. Um, I remember when J.D. Vance got nominated, his whole thing was he was a very smart guy. That Yale degree from Appalachia carries a lot of significance. So is being smart, something you're how educated you are, how where the prestige of your college. But then again, you have people like Obama, who was labeled smart by a lot of people, because he was, a well-spoken black man, which was just, for whatever reason, just not customary. Didn't fit the stereotype, even though I believe that was ridiculous. So, but even then, circling back to my point, sometimes I feel like I'm just in a rut, that whatever I say ultimately is meaningless in essence, in the sense that politics is just all opinions. And no matter who wins, no matter what happens, you know, you're not going to see that progress. You're not going to see that positive change, that, you know, that innovation that you see in a field like engineering or medicine for that matter, right? So politics is just very, in my eyes, just dirty and scary at the moment. But for whatever reason, it keeps drawing me back in. And with that said, um, I hope that I'm wrong. I keep banging that drum, that the idea that hopefully I'm wrong. Hopefully that there is positive. I mean, sure, if you look at the founding of America to where we are now, you see a lot of progress. But the idea that every day is just something sad comes out, no matter what, it's always bad news. And you can prove any argument. And politics seems to be ran by a bunch of frauds, and nobody has trust in government. It doesn't really make it appealing. But for whatever reason, maybe it's something in the back of my head. Or maybe, I don't know, I just keep wanting to come back. Um, Hopefully that's a good thing. Hopefully I'm not going to waste my life doing this, but I guess I'll enjoy the ride because, um, you know, I feel like I'm in too deep, even though that's not true at all. But yeah, I keep feeling lured into this field, and hopefully positivity will change, and the word fraud and politics go in opposite corners of the room. And I'm speaking very idealistically here, but those are just my general thoughts. Um, Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoy your day. I hope you are all safe and healthy, and I will see you all tomorrow.